Hello, and a very warm welcome to this webinar on mindfulness in nature. I'm Tony from Mindful Me, and I'm really pleased to have this time to share with you so that we can explore together a little about mindfulness and its relationship with nature. Mindfulness is a very powerful practice, and we can use it in many ways to benefit us in our lives. We all know as well that being in nature can be very therapeutic and very supporting. When we practice mindfulness, it allows us to see things more clearly, including what's happening in our own mind and our habit patterns. And I think it was Albert Einstein who said, when we look deeply into nature, we can see everything, we can understand everything. So mindfulness and nature together seem like a wonderful combination. So in this webinar, I'm planning to spend a little bit of time talking to you about some of the science of why nature is really good for us. So perhaps just a few studies to share with you about the evidence base for how we know nature is helpful. Of course, we know it's helpful by our own experience, but there are some good scientific studies to back that up now as well. Most of this time is going to be in practice. It's a very practical webinar, allowing you to dig into some practical activities so that you can really enjoy being immersed in nature. How are we going to be immersed in nature while we're sitting looking at our computer screens? Well, we can with a little bit of innovation and creativity, but really we can learn some tools and some practices that we can then take from this webinar and apply in the real outside world. So that's the idea behind it. And we're going to do a few things together. We're going to do some listening, so bathing ourselves in some sound. We're going to have a meditation on our hand and explore the connection between our hand and everything else in the universe. We're also going to do a little bit of walking, indoor walking, very slowly, and really connecting with the experience of movement and being in touch with the earth. And last but by no means least, I'll give you an exercise for opening up all of your senses and something to take away that you can explore in nature as well. So that's the plan for the session. And we're going to begin by just talking a little bit about some of the science. And there's now been quite a lot of studies, more than 1,000 at least, that document that nature's not just a nice thing to have. We know it's a nice thing to have. It's very pleasurable to spend time walking in the woods or in the trees or in fields, providing we're not, don't have too many allergies or we can avoid those, then we can really immerse ourselves and enjoy that experience. Some of the time we can be taken away in our mind by thoughts of things that we have to do or things that we're just randomly thinking about. But quite often we can manage to be immersed and to let ourselves go. And the evidence is now that being in nature is not just a nice thing to do, but it's actually really, really good for our physical and our mental health. And being in a really good, natural and safe environment can actually have real impacts on our physiology. It lowers our blood pressure, it reduces our stress hormones, enhances our immune response, and increases our rate of natural healing. So these are all the, just some of the physiological effects of being in nature. And in terms of the release of hormones, we know that it can actually really have a big impact across many different hormones. It can release serotonin, which is that mood stabilizer that's sometimes called the happy hormone. It can release endorphins, which are associated with pain control and with relaxing our body. And it can release oxytocin, which we sometimes call the love hormone, but also it's that sense of being able to bond with people and with animals and with the world. So we can often get that experience, can't we, when we're in nature? And psychiatric studies are also showing us that it can really support our mental health, improving our mood, helping us to feel calmer, and reducing feelings of isolation, which is absolutely wonderful, isn't it? Some of the more recent research suggests that we need about 2 hours a week, at least 2 hours a week in nature for it to be beneficial. And that could be 2 hours all in one go, but actually about 20 or even 30 minutes a day is proven to be even more beneficial. So getting outdoors and finding a way to immerse ourselves in nature for about 20 or 30 minutes a day is the ultimate goal. So that's about enough of the theory, actually. I said there wasn't going to be very much, and I better stick to that. So we're going to allow ourselves now to have our first practice together. And it's really immersing ourselves in some sounds of nature. And I've got two soundscapes for us to enjoy. One is Woodland Walk, and the other is Wales, not the place, but the swimming kind. So yeah, the invitation for you at the moment is simply to allow yourself to be comfortable, to find a nice upright position, but allow your muscles to be relaxed. Allow your body and the earth and your chair to hold you up so that you don't have to make too much effort. And when you've found a nice comfortable place to sit, allow your hands to be on your lap or gently by your side. And allow yourself just to absorb the sounds that you hear. So instead of thinking about what you're hearing or following the sounds or trying to understand what they are or attaching the story behind the sounds, which is what we often do, see if you can instead listen in a more open and curious and passive way, so that really you're just noticing perhaps the direction and the volume, the pitch, the tone of the sound, and just allowing it to hit your body and reverberate through your body without thinking about it too much. If you notice that you're thinking and you're being lost in thoughts, then just come back to the sound, the raw sound, as much as you can and as soon as you can, without any judgment. No matter how many times your mind wanders away from the sound, just see if you can bring yourself back again and again. You can close your eyes if you wish, or you can just lower and soften your gaze. Whichever you find most comfortable is absolutely fine. Remember, if the mind wanders away, or you become distracted by thoughts or start to tell stories about the sounds, just come back again, gently and kindly, without judgment, to the actual sound, noticing the tone, the volume, the pitch, the direction, or other aspects of your experience. bringing some movement back into your body, giving your fingers and toes a wiggle if you like. Opening your eyes if they were closed and taking a stretch. I hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in those different sounds. And if you noticed that you were being distracted and your mind was wandering, then that's okay. Noticing is simply part of our mindfulness practice. And coming back again and again to the object of our attention is our mindfulness. So hopefully you managed to immerse yourself for at least some of the time in mindful awareness, fully aware and present with the sounds that were reaching your body. I wonder if you can have a sense of also how those sounds might have affected you. These particular sounds from nature that are quite different to many of the sounds that we hear every day in our houses, on our roads and in our offices. So quite different sounds which have a very different effect on our physiology, our mental well-being, and our emotional state. So we're going to move on to our next practice straight away, and this is a practice called the hand meditation. But we're doing a particular version of this today, which is about recognizing the interconnected and interbeing nature of us. And our hand is really just a way into that. So for the moment, I'll stop sharing this slide and you can connect together for this practice. And the suggestion is simply to choose a hand, any hand that you'd like to focus on, to bring your attention to. So it doesn't really matter which one. The one you use more often or the one you use less often, it makes no difference. So take a choice. Allow your hand to be open so that you're looking at the palm. And just notice in the center of your hand, in the palm of your hand, just begin to tune into what is actually there. So approaching this activity as if really you don't know your hand, as if you're looking at your hand for the first time and exploring it afresh, exploring it anew. So connecting with what is actually present in the center of your hand. Perhaps you can notice lines of different thickness in moving in different directions, the way the lines cross over each other, the way some are deep and some are shallow. Perhaps recognizing that the lines are not so straight. They have many jagged edges and many branches that reach out in different directions. If we allow our hand to be completely relaxed, can we notice what the shape of the center of our hand is? Is it what we expect it to be? We can see around the fleshy parts as we move up towards the fingers, those fleshy parts of the hand. Perhaps as we open the hand and close the hand, we can notice how those parts of the hand move, how they change shape, how the texture changes. And then we can bring our attention up and notice perhaps the various lines on our fingers. Perhaps also beginning to notice that there is something happening beneath the skin. There's much happening beneath the skin. The crevices at the back of our hands, behind the knuckles. Bring your attention right up into the fingertips, perhaps noticing the fingerprints. If we look closely, the unique fingerprint. Perhaps recognizing the way the light falls on the hand and casts shadows in different places. And then moving our attention around, exploring the nails. Perhaps noticing the way the light is different and the texture is different on the nails. Noticing any blemishes, any cuts, anything that we can see that we don't expect to be there. And coming round to the knuckles and the top of the hand. Just connecting again with what we can see here. What is our hand actually like rather than what we expect it to be? At some point in this practice, you may notice judgment creeping in, noticing that your hands are a particular way, which makes you think about yourself in a particular way, or that the hands are not what you expect them to be, or that somehow they don't seem to be your hands, that they're actually something strange. Just notice these experiences as they come and go. And then just recognize that your hand is there, it's unique, it's very special, it does so much for you. It does so many things each and every day, things that we choose to do and automatic things that we do as well. Without our hands, life would be very challenging. We might make adjustment, but it would be very different. Let's take a moment now to look more deeply at your hand and to notice that your hand contains, perhaps you can see the blood vessels beneath the skin, the blood vessels that contain blood, which is made up substantially of water, the same water that flows in the streams and the rivers and the seas of the world. Exactly the same substance. Your hand is the river, is the ocean, and the ocean is your hand. We are completely connected to all of the water on the earth through the water that flows through our veins and nourishes us, satisfies our thirst, feeding every cell of our body. If you look more deeply, perhaps you have a sense also of the physical structure of our hand. So the actual bone, the sinews, cartilage, the muscles, all of the parts that are made up of carbon and other elements. The same carbon and other elements that are found in the earth, in the mountains. Our hand is the mountains. The mountains are our hand. We are completely connected to all of the earth. The same thing that's found in all of the cosmos is found within us. We are the earth. The earth is us. Allowing your hand now to rest gently by your side or back on your lap, and just take a moment to reflect on this contemplation, what it meant for you, whether there was any surprises when you explored your hand, whether the idea of being interconnected with the earth and with each other is a new idea for you, or something that's quite familiar and that you already understand and accept. Whatever your experience is absolutely fine. So nature is here within us, as well as out there. We often think about it as something distant, something we must escape to, but in fact it's all around us. We are part of it and it is part of us. If we can remember that, we can find ways to connect with nature every day, including the nature within ourselves. So we're going to move on to the next practice. I did say it was a practice-filled webinar, and it really is. So the next thing I'd like to introduce you to is mindful walking. So of course you know how to walk, and I'm not going to teach you how to walk. We learned that from a very early age, and many of us are pretty good at it. Many of us also really enjoy going for walks. So we're used to the idea of going walking and including walking in nature. But mindful walking is a little bit different. It's about being completely present with the experience of walking. So rather than allowing our mind to become lost in our thoughts or even absorbed by the things we see, we try to stay present with our experience right then and there. And there's a number of things we can bring our attention to as we walk. So the first one is our breathing. We are breathing all the time, the breath coming in, the breath going out. Quite often when we go for a walk, we're not aware that we're breathing. So in order to stay present with ourselves while we walk, we can bring some attention to that wonderful flow of the breath. Breath coming in, breath flowing out. Wherever we notice that in our body, whether it's in the nostrils or in the belly or anywhere else, as it flows down and flows back out. So connect with the flow of your breath as you walk. The second thing we can do is we can connect with the touch of our feet on the earth. So once again, it's quite normal for our attention to be up here, either in our head or in what we can see in our environment. And we can become very disconnected from our bodies, and particularly the idea of being in contact with the earth. So we can tune into the sensation of walking as we lift one foot and drop it back down, and we lift another foot and drop it back down. We can actually feel that, feel the sensations of walking, rather than thinking about walking or being lost in our thoughts. We can, of course, enjoy the wonderful sights and sounds and smells, possibly even the tastes of nature. And that's wonderful. But if we can come back again and again to our breath and to the sensations in our body, then we'll find that those experiences can be really greatly enhanced. So what speed do we walk when we walk mindfully? Well, the answer to that is as slowly as it takes for you to be present. And for many people, that's really quite slow, because as soon as we pick up the pace, then we become lost in that moment. We become really on automatic pilot rather than being mindfully aware. So we could imagine perhaps walking an in-breath, lifting our foot, and then an out-breath, taking our foot down. And an in-breath, lifting our foot, and an out-breath, bringing our foot down. Or perhaps a little bit faster, an in-breath and an out-breath. So an in-breath, foot up and down, and an out-breath, foot up and down. Walking, one breath in, one breath out. One breath in, one breath out. Noticing the movement of our body synchronized with the flow of our breath. Our slow, gentle breath leading our mindful, aware walk. We can also notice other sensations in our body, but we can keep bringing our attention back to our breathing and back to the sensations of our feet on the earth. So a wonderful teacher, a Buddhist Zen master called Thich Nhat Hanh, says we should walk as if our feet are kissing the earth. Kissing the earth. What a wonderful idea. So gently and slowly, with full awareness, in the way we might kiss a person we love, we kiss the earth, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Gently, slowly, kindly, with compassion, with love for the earth, and compassion and love for ourselves. So we don't get to do any mindful walking today because doing that online is quite challenging, but I hope you'll go and explore this for yourselves and see what difference it might make. I've suggested you can do it in nature, but you can also do it at home. You can simply walk up and down in a straight line or round in a circle, depending on how much space you have, and just really be present with the experience and see what it is like. See whether you enjoy it, see what it's like. For some people at first, it can feel a little bit frustrating, not used to walking at that speed. But as we slow down, what happens is we start to notice more about ourselves, more about our environment, and we really become immersed and enjoy that experience all the more. So one more exercise to do today, or one more practice to do today. And then I'd like to leave you with something as well that you can take away and try by yourselves. But the thing to do today together is something called opening our senses. It's a really simple practice because we have, as you know, 5 senses. Although in the Buddhist world, we sometimes think of the mind as being our 6th awareness sense. But typically in Western culture, we think of 5 senses. So what we can see, what we can hear, what we can touch, what we can smell, and what we can taste. So the objective here is in nature. So when you go for a walk, you can play this game, or indeed you can play it sitting where you are right now, which is what I'm going to ask you to do. This is also a wonderful practice to teach children. So if you have your own children or get to look after any, then you could introduce them to this and see how much fun you can have with them. So let's begin by, again, just sitting comfortably, allowing your body to be relaxed. And for this practice, we'll keep our eyes open, at least for the first part of it. As we bring our attention now to 5 things that we can see right now. So see if you can just allow your eyes to rest gently on 5 different things and call out what they are to yourself. So don't worry about too much exactly what they are, what their purpose is, or what the story is behind the object. Simply notice it in terms of its color, its shape, its texture, for example, rather than the story behind it. So just 5 things, take your time. And perhaps there's some things around you that you hadn't noticed before or have been out of your awareness now for some time. So tuning into those things, just count them off, and hopefully you manage to come up with 5. 5 things we can see is usually the easiest in this activity. It gets a little bit harder. So the next thing to do is to tune our ears in to 4 things that we can hear. 4 things you can hear right now. Well, I'm sure you can hear the sound of my voice, so that's definitely one. Perhaps there's the whirring of your computer fans, or you can notice noises outside your room, or noises near to you, even noises that your own body is making, maybe as you breathe, as you move on your chair. Again, see if you can resist the urge to be carried away by the noise into explanations or judgments or stories about the noise. Simply notice it. What are these 4 sensations of hearing that you can notice? Next, tune in now to 3 things that you can touch, that you can feel. And if you're seated, then you can probably feel the touch of the chair. You might notice the floor beneath your feet. If your hands are by your lap, touch of clothing on your body, there may be many things that you can touch without moving. Or perhaps you'd like to reach out and touch one of the objects that you saw earlier. Once again, see if you can avoid judgment about the object. Instead, just notice what you can experience through the sensation of touch. Maybe heat or cold or some other sensation. Next, tune in to 2 things that you can smell. There's almost certainly a smell of some kind in your room. Perhaps you've got used to it or you've not really noticed it before. Don't try too hard, but allow your attention simply to move to your nostrils and your sense of smell. If you're finding it difficult to find anything, then your clothing may have a particular smell, or some of the objects in your reach might have a particular smell. You might bring them closer to your nose so you can explore that sensation. And last but not least is the sense of taste. One thing that you can taste safely right now. This is especially important when we're in nature, that we only taste things that are safe. Perhaps there's an aftertaste of some kind in your mouth already. Perhaps there's some food on your table that you pop into your mouth. or just having a sense of something you've had to eat earlier, the after effects of something in your mouth. There's nearly always some kind of taste already there. Sour, sweet, bitter. Whatever you notice, again, see if you can not be judgmental about it, just notice it. Whatever it is okay. So I hope you enjoyed that experience of opening your senses. It really is a fun thing to play, as I said, with children, and even better to experience outdoors when we can really be immersed in our sensual world. And of course, it's a wonderful way to bring ourselves into our body and to give our mind a break and to move away from our thinking processes, all that cognition that's never ending in our mind. So we come to the end of our webinar just about, but I'd love to leave you with a takeaway activity. And the takeaway activity I've got for you is 7 days and 7 ways to connect with nature. So 2021 World Mental Health Awareness Week, the theme was nature, which is very much the inspiration behind this webinar. And for that, I developed the 7 days and 7 ways to connect with nature. And these are just some really simple ideas, things that you can do that can give you some new and interesting ways to connect with nature over 7 days. So it really doesn't matter if Mental Health Awareness Week has passed. Just pick a week, any 7 days, and give this a try. So day 1, simply go for a nice, slow, mindful walk in the way that I've instructed you in this webinar. See if you can notice things you haven't noticed before and connect with the experiences around you, but especially connect with your breath and with the sensations of walking. On day 2, just sit. How many times do we just sit? Almost never. We very rarely just stop and do nothing. So this is an invitation to do that and to simply experience maybe the breeze on your skin or the sun on your skin. Day 3, notice some animals, maybe just one in particular. Perhaps there's a friendly bird or an insect or something that you can be really curious about, and just watch it and just see what its life might be like. Perhaps noticing just how different its life might be to yours. See if you can watch it without judgment again. Just notice what it's doing, be open and curious. Day 4, play the activity that we've just done together now. It's called a treasure hunt on this slide. So 5 things you can see, 4 you can hear, 3 you can touch, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste safely. Do it with some other people and bring some kids along if you can. It'll be great fun. Day 5, connect with the earth. So stand up and have a sense of the earth holding you up, gravity pulling you down, feeling grounded and stable and connected. Be thankful for all the earth gives you, all of the food that we have to eat, fresh water to drink. Day 6, bring some nature in. So I'm not suggesting that you go out and kill a plant and bring it into your house, but maybe find a plant that's could do with some tending indoors, or it is an indoor plant. And maybe you've got something already that you can start to take care of a little bit more. So tend to it each day. You might even speak to it kindly. And some people have been known to sing to their plants or to play music to them. What would that experience be like if you did something like that? Day 7, connect with the majesty and magnificence and beauty of trees. Most trees that we encounter have lived much longer than us, many for hundreds of years. See if you can stand right back and explore their beauty from a distance, and then get really close and explore what they're like in their bark and in their roots and in their branches. If you're really brave, give a tree a hug and experience the joy of getting close to ancient wisdom and strength. So that's your 7 ways and 7 days to be mindful in nature. I hope you take up the challenge, and I hope you really enjoy doing that. And we've now come to the end of this webinar. I'd just like to say a huge thank you for tuning in, for participating, if you've done that as we've gone along. If you like this, then please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and look out for new content that I'll be sharing with you very soon. Thank you once again. I wish you a pleasant day and weeks ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.